Good morning. It's Caroline, Mrs. Recruiter. This video is to celebrate International Men's Day, which is happening this Thursday, the 19th of November. So we wanted to shine a light on one of our favourite gentlemen in the rail sector, smiling away there, which is Dan Smith. So we wanted to give Dan an opportunity to share more about his story, and I'm sure you'll find it inspiring and engaging. No pressure, Dan. So just to kick off then, if we wanted to hand over to Dan to share a little bit more about his role and more about him as a person.
Okay, hello. So my name's Dan Smith. I'm one of the senior directors at Alstom UK. That's the job that I do. That's not really about who I am. And I think on International Men's Day or any other day, it's more about who you are as a human being, I guess. I've had quite a long career in different areas in the rail industry, only for the last 12 years, I think. But before that, I was in the British Army. And as an officer in the British Army, and been to places like Kosovo and Iraq, and really going into different environments and countries and seeing how I suppose people treat each other and how life is, and certainly in my free time back then, I used to go around the world with a backpack and buy a plane ticket somewhere and a rough guide and try and really experience how things really are, as opposed to the sort of glossy brochures that you get and go and sit in a hotel for 2 weeks. So for me, it's about who you are, and for me, I'm a very curious person. I'm very focused on innovation and driving things forward, continuing improvement, but getting the best out of people as well. And I think there was something that said to me very quite a few years ago, and it actually was my commissioning ball at Sandhurst, and it was a friend of my brother's. I think he was a bit drunk, but he was a Hereford at the time, and he said to me, he said, whatever you do, he said, never forget your humility. And for me, humility is something I've always stood by in terms of how I interact with people. And it's core to really who I am. But I guess that's me as a brief introduction.
Thanks, Dan. And when you said that there, actually, about never forget your humility, that gave me some goosebumps when you said that. So thank you for sharing that. I can see how much that means to you. So tell me more about the best parts of your working life, and how does that apply to you now in 2020? Well,
there's been a number of different things, and I think what's been good about my working life, and I take back to the beginning. I mean, when I was 14, I think that's a few years ago. I was going to leave school at 16, become a car mechanic. That was what I was really interested in. So I've always been interested in engineering. And I started washing cars on a weekend, just to get some pocket money, as it were. And I worked for Jimmy Hill, the old football pundit. His two sons used to own a car showroom, and I worked for them. And what was really good is I worked one summer, and I think it was the summer of 1989. I still remember Soul to Soul and Back to Life. I'm showing my age. It was the YTS guy there. It was on £35 a week, and he was treated like utter dirt. And do you know what? I was earning more than that washing the cars, and I thought to myself, do you know what? Maybe I should just stay on at school and see what happens. And I stayed on school, and I did my A-levels, and went and did a degree. And you know what? It was pretty middle of the road in terms of where I am. I suppose a low light of my career was I got made redundant from my first job out of university. But that's when I started looking at the military. I fell into it, shall we say? But I suppose the highlights if I look at two separate careers, the highlight in my military career was I suppose I invaded Iraq on my 28th birthday, and I had about 60 guys under my command at that point. I think Saddam even lit a few candles on the way, which was quite nice of him, with some burning oil heads. And then after that, I was very lucky to go and support Special Forces for a couple of years, which was just a phenomenal time. And what it really brought home to me was that comradeship and that equality that I experienced in there, in terms of it played to everybody's strengths and what you did. and looked at how you could really just perform at a high level, not all being, a particular sort of, I'm supporting these guys. I wasn't one of these guys, but actually they respected what you brought to the party, and that's something certainly I've brought forward. I think in my rail career, being with Alstom now, fantastic, and I have a cracking team. I've got a department of about 250 odd. I mean, it's quite a large lot, and there's some really good open-minded drive towards continuous improvement and innovation that we're looking at, and that's a real good highlight at the moment. But in terms of my rail career, I've worked with the DfT and did the technical specification, or led the technical specification for the West Midlands franchise. So hopefully that's good. If it's not, sorry, did our best. The ITT went out on time, so that was good. But I worked with Abellio and with Arriva as a consultant, and Abellio, I was very fortunate. They asked me if I'd go to Tokyo for a week, which was
twisted your arm.
And for all the train buffs out there, I was very lucky to have a cab ride in the Shinkansen, which was just phenomenal.
Wow.
There's been quite a lot of highlights here and there, and I think the biggest thing for me is I've worked with some truly wonderful people in the industry, certainly where I am now with Alstom, but Arriva Group as well. The bid team there, it was phenomenal to work with those guys there as well. So overall, I had a choice when I left the military to either stay in defence or come into transport, and I came into the rail industry. And to be honest, it's a fantastic industry to work in.
I think what's resonated with me there is the army was your home, and you talk so passionately now about the railway, and the railway is your new home. That's kind of the themes that are coming out to me, and very much it aligned with your personal values around innovation and continuous improvement. And you're obviously getting a chance to shine doing that at Alstom. Thanks, Dan. That was really enlightening, actually. I didn't know some of that stuff, and I thought I knew quite a lot about you. So, International Men's Day. So this is about men and boys. So what do you personally do, Dan, to support and encourage men and boys? Thinking about, I know that you're very kind of community spirited and do lots of work. So interested to hear from you on that.
So for me, it's not just men and boys. I mean, it's everybody. And I know we've got International Men's Day, but it's for me, it's about getting the best out of my people, and feeling that everybody can do it. And I think for me, I go back to when I was 14, and to be fair, I didn't get great GCSEs, didn't get fantastic.
Same here. Got
a very middle of the road degree. I mean, I went on to do, my degree was mechanical engineering. I then went on to do a postgraduate in aeronautics. So I'm a sort of mechanical aeronautical engineer. I've done railways. I used to look after tunnels and things like that. So every bit of engineering I've touched, bar marine engineering. And I'm not a great fan of in the army. Still have to do swimming. There we go. But for me, in terms of my focus has always been, no matter what gender you are, is about getting the best out of you. And the way I tend to run my departments and things is more in a collaborative partnership, in terms of that we all grow together. It's a very team environment, rather than being particularly, you've got these particular departments that you have. And I guess for me, it's where I look to this is to say, I think you can achieve anything. It takes some hard work, it takes some ambition, but it takes some drive to always do better. And I sit in my position where I am now, and it just feels a bit. It feels a bit. When I turn around and say I'm the senior director, it's kind of going, well, yeah, I am, but I'm still Dan, that's. And like at the beginning, I said that's what I do. It's not who I am. And I think maintaining that curiosity, maintaining that wanting to improve, wanting to do better, wanting to learn every day. That's what I try and instill in all the people that work for me and the people around me, is saying, well, do you know what? Do you just want to sit here and do that, or actually do you want to go and find and discover more? and that's always been a deep passion in me, and hence why I went, got a backpack on and roughed it going around the world, because there's so much out there, and there's so much opportunity, which makes it it's a bit of a glib comment, I guess, but yeah, unless you go for it, then you never know,
Okay.
and you don't want to turn around in 10 years and say, well, what if?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. So 2020, Dan, obviously not exactly the year we probably thought it was going to be when we were raising our glasses at New Year's Eve last year. So tell me more about how that's affected you personally this year, Dan.
So I'm very lucky. I was a consultant for about 5 years before I started this job, and I have what is my own office here. We sort of converted an outbuilding. So it makes it sound very grandiose. It isn't. It's tricky. I mean, as humans, we like to interact, and that sort of physical interaction is quite important. I think it's always useful. I think when you're on Teams and things like this, which I seem to be on most of the time, you sort of get a little window into someone's world. Sort of in this sort of box that's here, and you get to see things. And I have one of my guys who has a picture of a mad cow on behind him when we talk, which it just always amuses me and lightens my mood when we're having a chat. And is it tricky? Yes, I think. For me personally, having been on 6-month operational tours in the military, it sort of prepares you in some way. But then there's always an end point. There's always an end state. Whereas at the moment, it's just ongoing and it's on fluid. I mean, I still have the opportunity to get out and about, and certainly getting to some of our locations to do safety tours and make sure we're looking after people properly. For me, at the beginning of the crisis, I was able to lead the UK, out of the UK in terms of the COVID response. So from my military background, I sort of, I think I relished in that a bit. But personally, I think probably like a lot of people, I think a lot of people are starting to get tired with this now. And it's getting quite difficult, certainly as the winter months come in. But I'm there trying to motivate the guys and the girls and keep them going. But just making sure we've got a good community network in terms of everybody can reach out to anybody, and try and create that, maybe a bit of a military culture within what I'm doing, in terms of we're buddying up, we're making sure everybody's okay, and actually if somebody's struggling under the pressure, it's a case of, well, the mantra I have with people is, how can I help?
Yeah. And I guess that, your military days, that team is so critical. And actually, that sounds like you've really brought that. That's who you are as a person. That really kind of manifests itself in your career within the rail industry as well. Kind of, we're all in it together. We're all pulling in the same direction. And absolutely, let's support each other to get there. Thanks, Dan. So ending on a high, what is your one piece of advice to people watching this video, to give them some words of encouragement? So if Dan was on a motivational poster saying some words, what would you be saying?
I think for me, it's be curious. That's what I say to everybody who starts with me. I said, continue to be curious. And I'll tell you, I suppose, a little story. When I was at university, it was my second year at university, and we're having it was a manufacturing lesson. And a professor of engineering was going through lots of sums, and it was about tooling and stuff like that. And one of the guys who was a mature student said, look, I'm not sure that's quite right. He put his hand up and he went, well, okay, I'll take you through it again. And he went through it again. And I said, no, I still don't think it's right. And he went, well, this is the, and in true and, university fashion, well, this is in the test and this is what the book's saying, all the rest of it. He said, yes, but I was a toolmaker for 25 years and that wouldn't happen. And I think for me, the lesson is no matter what position people are in, or, letters they have before their name or after their name, if you don't think it's right, or if you're curious, find out. Don't take things at face value. You know what? And I think some people can get quite defensive about it. But for me, and like I said to people, I'm just being curious. I'm just trying to understand. And communication is about understanding rather than, I suppose, waiting your turn sometimes, which is where some people do. But maintain that curiosity and have the hunger for it, because that's how you learn, you move forward. And actually, I think that's how innovation happens, because people are curious and they want to really understand and improve.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. No, that's really useful. And I think along those lines, it's this ask forgiveness, don't seek permission. It always resonates with me. A former HR director told me that, and I think it's along those same lines, isn't it? It's just and I think at Intuitive, it's our name is Intuitive, and a lot of the time it's going with your gut and sensing what's right. So thank you very much for sharing more about you and your time in the military and your railway career. I'm sure people will find that fascinating to hear from you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.